Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today, and we're starting here with Metal Gear Solid Delta. A major update was just released by Konami that not only adds the Fox Hunt multiplayer mode, but fixes a lot of the performance issues that people were, asking Konami to take care of. So it took a little while, but it's finally here. This is being reported by Push Square. They say the new multiplayer mode for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is really scratching our Metal Gear Online and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood itch. This all-new online component, available as a free update for the PS5 remake today, blends hide-and-seek gameplay with competitive deathmatch action. We think the trailer does a brilliant job of showing off how fun it could be. As you can see, the mode really emphasizes stealth and hide-and-seek gameplay, augmenting you with an all-terrain camouflage suit which you can use to blend into the environment. Obviously, those who master this utility will have the most success on the battlefield, but rivals will still have detective capabilities to counter the camouflage and track down opponents. Early feedback on social media has been really positive about this mode, so we're eager to put it through its paces. And I will say, before we go on to the performance mode here, I have played quite a bit of this Fox Hunt mode, and I have to say it is not perfect. It has some issues, but it is really fun. And I do highly recommend, if you bought and played Metal Gear Solid Delta, to give this a shot. I don't know if it's going to be your cup of tea for sure, but it definitely, I would say, captures that Metal Gear feel in a multiplayer environment, and I've been enjoying myself. But the article continues saying, one other thing worth noting is that today's update allows you to select between performance and quality modes on the PS5 Pro. Previously, we reported how at launch the remake only had one PS5 Pro graphics option, which struggled to maintain its target 60 frames per second. There's no word on whether the PSSR upscaling issues have also been resolved here, but we wouldn't hold our breath. Elsewhere, the update also fixes some minor gameplay bugs and cleans up the game's overall performance across the board. So there you go, some significant updates for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Let me know if you've tried the Fox Hunt multiplayer and what you think of it. Moving on from that, we have a small update for Intergalactic The Heretic Prophet. This is again being reported by Push Square. It says Naughty Dog is currently deep in development on its next big action-adventure game, Intergalactic The Heretic Prophet, and it seems things are moving along nicely. When the sci-fi title was announced back at the Game Awards 2024, no release window was attached, so exactly when it's releasing is up for debate. However, what's interesting is a fresh batch of job advertisements for the studio, all to do with quality assurance and localization, roles that usually come into play at the tail end of production. These job ads have found their way onto social media, of course, where it's speculated that hiring for positions like this means Intergalactic is nearing the end of development and could be further along than we think. We can see the logic, even if it does seem like a little bit of a stretch. There are a couple of things to consider, the main one being Sony's current approach to how it announces and promotes its upcoming games. In recent years, PlayStation has settled into a pattern in which it announces projects much closer to their launch date than it used to. Games like Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Marvel's Wolverine were announced before this new pattern was established, but Ghost of Yotei, for instance, was released just over a year after its announcement trailer. Saros will be about the same. However, Sony has already confirmed 2 games for 2026. Saros, which is launching in March, and Marvel's Wolverine arriving in the fall. Given how Sony has been pacing out its first-party releases, we are more inclined to think that Intergalactic is being reserved for 2027. This would go against that rule of announcing things closer to when they're done, but this is Naughty Dog, a studio notorious for delays and perfectionism. So, yeah, I thought this was worth taking a moment to talk about because people are focused on this, and there's no denying that this game is, in the final stages of development. I don't see how it couldn't be. We've gone this entire generation without a new game from Naughty Dog. However, I do agree with Push Square here. I think this is going to be an early 2027 game. I think Wolverine is going to be Sony's October or November title for 2026. And then I think Intergalactic is going to be lined up for a February or March 2027 release. That's what makes the most sense to me. But either way, if you're somebody who's looking forward to Intergalactic, this is a good sign that it's close to being finished. And I also want to remind people who maybe don't know or forgot that Naughty Dog does have a second single-player game in development that's been in development for multiple years now, and they've teased it numerous times and confirmed it numerous times, but we have yet to actually get the official announcement. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. We'll probably be getting another new game announcement from Naughty Dog in the not too distant future. But we're going to move to the next topic, which talks about Resident Evil 9. Firstly, how pre-orders are officially live alongside the bonuses and the deluxe edition, but we also have a official Resident Evil showcase that was announced. So when it comes to the pre-orders, again, you can pre-order this game right now. It's going to be $70. They do have the digital deluxe edition for $80. And what you get with that are 5 costumes, 4 weapon skins, 2 Apocalypse screen filters, a Mr. Raccoon Charm, Raccoon City Classic audio pack, and letters from 1998 files. If you just do the standard edition, you will get a pre-order bonus. You'll get Grace's Apocalypse costume. But there you go. The pre-orders are out. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be on this because, I mean, it's one of the most anticipated games for next year. But when it comes to this showcase, Capcom released a new video. I think they called it like the Road to Resident Evil Requiem or something like that, where they basically just highlight the history of Resident Evil, talk about all the events of the previous games leading up to the new one. But at the end of it, it was announced that in early 2026, they're going to be doing a full-blown showcase for Resident Evil Requiem specifically, and they say that they're going to dive deeper into all things Resident Evil Requiem. So yeah, this is going to be pretty exciting. This is something I'm definitely going to tune into. Again, one of the most anticipated games for 2026. And, you know, Leon apparently, according to rumors and according to leaks, is in this game as the main protagonist, and Capcom seems to be very much hiding this and saving it as a big surprise. I would assume we're either going to get that Leon reveal at the Game Awards, in the next month or so, and if not, they're certainly at this showcase event that they're doing. So let me know if you pre-ordered Resident Evil Requiem and if you're going to be tuning in to the showcase. Moving on to the next topic, though, we have an interesting update on Sony Bend, specifically the cancellation of their game. Now, this isn't necessarily something major, but I just thought it was worth kind of going over to get a little bit more insight into what was going on behind the scenes with Sony Bend that led to this game getting canceled. This is being reported by Push Square. They say a former employee of Days Gone developer Bend Studio has commented that the cancellation of the team's live service game could be seen coming prior to its official announcement. According to Robert Morrison, who spent almost 3 years at Sony Bend from July 2022 to June 2025 as a senior animator, said the following in regards to the new IP, quote, "We didn't make enough substantial progress over the 3 years I was there. I saw the eventual cancellation coming prior to it," end quote. On his LinkedIn page, Morrison lists a canceled Sony Bend project as Mirror Pond, and he was involved in hand-keyed and mocap-based gameplay animation for main player characters and NPCs using the Decima Engine. He had close collaboration with programmers and designers to prototype, build, improve, and refine numerous gameplay systems. So, some pretty interesting stuff here. First off, apparently Sony Bend was going to be using the Decima Engine for this new IP, which, kind of makes me sad that it got canceled because I would have really been interested to see what that looked like. It's cool that more Sony studios are going to try to take advantage of this engine. But something that concerns me here is when he says straight up that they didn't make enough progress over the 3 years. So in other words, it seems like this game was canceled not because it was bad or it had major issues or anything like that. It seems like it was canceled simply because it wasn't progressing. They were not hitting milestones, and Sony was like, yeah, we can't continue to fund this. The reason why that's concerning to me is because it makes me worried about like what Bend is going to do next. It seems like this may be like an efficiency problem, like a development timeline issue here, where we know that Bend Studio had a lot of development issues with Days Gone. That's been well documented, where they've, it was in development hell for some time. It just gets me a little bit worried that the studio may you know, they may have a production issue, you know, and a potential like leadership issue. I'm not sure. I don't want to like read too much into this, but I will say of all the reasons for this game to get canceled, I didn't think it would have been because they just didn't make progress. I honestly thought it would have been because it just wasn't coming together well, and it was just deemed like, yeah, this isn't a good game. We need to start over. So just figured I would relay this information to you guys. Still feeling worried about Sony Bend. I don't know what's next for them. Still shocked that they are choosing seemingly not to do anything with Days Gone, but there you go. I wanted to inform you guys of this. But that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.